Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few.
I've been thinking about what Jesus said about the narrow gate every day for a long time now.
Really? Why was it so important to you?
Because later Jesus talked about how if anyone wanted to come after him, they had to deny themselves daily and take up their cross. And when he said that, I was reminded of the way he talked about the way. He said the way was hard that led to life. A way is something we are walking on.
Right. If anyone would come after me, he said. It was an invitation.
It was really personal, for me at least. You know, I'd given up everything in order to follow him, but I realized it wasn't as simple as make a decision and you're done. Even though I had been converted and turned from everything in this world, it wasn't like my will suddenly disappeared.
No, and it's not like I'm not tempted and drawn to the world even though I'm converted.
Not at all. I realized I had to hold on to that decision I had made and not let my own will lead me. I need to follow him, putting one foot in front of the other on the path he walked.
Let's take a moment here. Even though I had been converted and turned from this world, my will hadn't disappeared. I realized I had to hold on to my decision and not let my own will lead me.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of narrow gates, here's that ridiculously small one again.
Yep, my old nemesis.
Peter, you coming?
Yep, coming. Okay, Peter, you got this, Take a running start and...
Peter, you good?
Yep, all good. I'm telling you, this gate gets smaller every time I go through it.
You know, it's either that or...
Haha, very funny. I just can't believe I even fit through that thing.
You know, Peter, that was actually a pretty good demonstration. A narrow gate. You can't bring anything through with you. You have to unload everything you're carrying.
To go through the narrow gate means I must make a difficult choice. It's difficult because I have to make a decision to give up everything I can't bring through that gate. I have to decide to be finished with it, leaving it behind for good. Everything that's great for me in this world. Things I want to enjoy.
But that's just the beginning. Then I am to follow Jesus on the narrow way, every day denying myself and taking up my cross. The cross. That's the way they punish the worst criminals. It's an extremely painful death. I can hardly think about Jesus going through that.
I think Jesus' point here was that it is really painful for a person to not follow their own will. I realized this after we were together in Gethsemane, when he had been fighting in his prayer so intensely. He knew that doing God's will would lead him through extreme pain. It was an incredibly hard fight for him to not do his own will.
And right after that, he was hanging on the cross.
So we could say that the way to life goes through Gethsemane to Calvary, through a hard inner battle to be obedient to God's will, to the cross where my earthly I is nailed firmly, and after a while it dies. This is to happen every day within a disciple, Jesus said.
The way to life goes through Gethsemane to Calvary, through a battle to be obedient to God's will, to the cross where my earthly I is nailed firmly and dies.
And that is the way to life. A way that few find, Jesus said. That's a serious thought.
It really is, especially when we think about the other way Jesus talked about, the wide gate and the easy way. There's plenty of room for my earthly I there. I don't need to give up or sacrifice anything. I don't need to deny anything.
But that's not the way Jesus went, and it doesn't lead to life. It leads to destruction.
I had this experience of coming back down to earth when he said these words. Until then, it had been so incredible to hear him speak about how our Heavenly Father would take care of us. So I was almost feeling like everything would work out on its own. But now it was clear that I was also responsible for something. I have to do something myself to come into life.
Yes, we can never forget that. That our Father has counted the hairs on our head, that He takes responsibility for arranging things for us and helps us in all the situations we find ourselves in. That is so incredibly great that we can hardly comprehend it. But I have to deny myself and take up my cross. In other words, I must see to it that I'm walking on the narrow way, being obedient to His will.
Exactly. It became so clear for me that there are two key conditions for it to succeed for me. The first condition is God's presence and intervention in my personal life. That means everything. But I can't forget the other condition, that I take up my cross every day and deny myself.
There are two key conditions for it to succeed: God's presence and intervention, and that I take up my cross and deny myself every day.
What he said about the gate and the way was near the end of his message. It was like he was saying, there is a price for this heavenly life I've spoken about. There is a way to go that lasts our whole lives, and it costs us to walk on it. But it leads to life.
Yes, the best deal in the world.
The way to heaven is narrow with thorns entwined, but all who choose this way happiness find. Straight is the gate we know, through it we each must go. Battles just stir our faith, onward to go.
Downward the way doth wind, I'm lifted heart and mind. All is corruptible, on earth I find. My spirit glad can be, for from the flesh it's free. In all that comes my way, glory I see.
I victory on the cross, it frees from flesh and draws to my eternal home. Patient I run, sufferings that I must bear, add to my glory there. Nailed to the cross by faith, victory is won.
give thanks to thee. Thou knowest best for me. Wherever thou dost lead, I'll follow thee. Chastening and trials long, which from